Before we begin, thank you very much to Titanium Megatron with a mustache for leaving me a tip on Ko-fi. Thank you very much for the assistance. Thank you for the direct support to the channel. You know, I'm still going to call you the worst Transformer ever. I don't care if you wear a mustache. I know it's you. It's not a very good disguise. But nevertheless, I do appreciate it. Thank you very much for doing so. I keep thinking the Ko-fi streak is not going to be a thing, and then you just prove me wrong. You don't have to prove me wrong. I appreciate it, but you don't. You know this. Anyway, speaking of contributions to the channel, this is another Patreon request video. I will admit, this one's newer. I have some on the back burner that I really need to get to. Some people are very patient with me. But this one is fairly new, but it scratches that itch in my brain where I get to talk about Blitzwing again. Because it's been a bit. We haven't talked about my favorite Decepticon in a long time. So it's long overdue. The request was, which of the three modern generations Blitzwings toys is the best? Okay, so we get to talk about all three then. Which is actually something that made me realize I've never actually reviewed any of the modern Blitzwing toys. The only one we have ever talked about on this channel is the original Blitzwing from G1. And let's be honest, there's a lot of reasons why I don't do the new ones. And we'll cover all of them. We'll do it in an interesting style. But let's just kind of like go over this really quickly here. The title of the video might not be which modern Blitzwing toy is the best. The alternate title in my head is, why is every Blitzwing toy so weird? Because even the G1 toy is weird. Like the man has a plane cockpit sticking out of his tank mode. He is holding himself up by using tail fins for his feet. He's holding his weapons by the sides of his hands, and he has a tank turret sticking out the bottom of his jet mode. He's weird. He's weird. Fun fact, if I haven't said it before, or if you haven't heard it before, in the original toy and cartoon, because of all that junk underneath his wings, I thought this is some weird jet with 4 wings. For the longest time, I thought that. No, it's just where his kibble went. But all of the modern G1 Blitzwings do different things, so I'm going to take a look at them, but we're going to do it by alt mode. So first off, we are going to cover the tank modes, and all of these will go in chronological order. So we're going to start with the Thrilling 30 Blitzwing here, and his tank mode, honestly, is probably the weakest of the three. Now, he doesn't have a jet cockpit sticking out the front, which is a plus to him. And overall, I don't mind the actual like shape and look of it. You know, using the the way it makes the turret is not a bad decision. Like, it looks fine, but he's definitely the weakest of the three tanks because this one has a lot of gap issues. You can see the back of the turret and underneath it toward the back, those big white gaps where he really doesn't have a whole lot of bulk to fill anything up. So as far as a tank goes, he doesn't look nearly as solid as I would really like. The color mixing is fine. You know, typically on a Blitzwing, I expect a lot more of the beige to show in tank mode and save the purple for the jet mode. But if you like the mix, then it doesn't look bad. You know, a little bit of a different flavor. Do like that it's a more up-to-date tank, a little bit more futuristic. That's not bad. But overall, yeah, it's a flimsy looking tank. Because of the gaps, because it's not very solid looking, it does have this more flimsy look to it. As opposed to the Titan's Return, which looks like this just dead solid war machine. Yeah, way more heavy duty, way more solid looking tank. No cockpit sticking through the front of this one either. However, it has jet engines. That's a little bit different. But no, the overall look of this one isn't bad. Like, it also has a lot more of the purple coming across because of the jet mode parts, but it's focusing all of them toward the back, which does kind of help the presence of the tank mode itself. And overall looks decent, you know? Like, it's a more traditional shape of tank, got a more traditional turret, aside from the fact that, you know, obviously that is not a normal barrel sticking out of it. And I'm gonna point out, like, right now we're ignoring the fact that there is a Titan Master piloting him from the top. We're going to ignore that fact for now. We're gonna move on from that. We're just focusing on the tank. For flaws to the tank mode, honestly, like, you would have to be a stickler for accuracy, because yeah, that's not the right shape for the front of the tank, and yes, it might be a little bit weird that the jet wings are wrapped around the back. You know, in that, okay, yeah, you could draw some criticism, but I don't think the tank mode necessarily looks all that bad. You know, it's just suffering from the triple changer aspect, but I don't think they did a bad job of working around it. And then we have the current one, the Legacy Blitzwing, which is a lot more focused on cartoon accuracy. It focuses the purple as well, this time in the front rather than the back, which it's got to go somewhere. You're not going to hide all of it. I do like how solid the beige looks in this version of the tank mode, though. And I do like that, yeah, like it's holding to a more traditional shape of tank. So this is trying to get close to his original G1 form, right down to where the cockpit is. Now, it's important to remember that's present in the animation model of Blitzwing as well, meaning that's an intentional show accurate detail. You know, so they could have tucked it away further, but that is technically accurate. So I'm going to let them get away with this one here. As far as the tanks go, yeah, this one looks the most solid. This one looks like the most realistic tank, looks the closest to his original. I'd probably say this one is the best of the three. Though, yeah, the Titans Return one I don't think is terrible either. I'm also going to mention here that for everything I'm talking with the Titans Return one, if it's the Takara Legacy version or the Legends version, bump everything up by a point or two, because they did try to focus a lot more on making it a lot nicer looking, more cohesive looking. Now, let's move on to the jet mode, and this is surprising me. This one actually surprised me when I thought about it a lot. So we start again with the thrilling 30 jet, and honestly, I really like this. I actually really like this. So it's the only Blitzwing who doesn't have a whole bunch of junk underneath his jet mode, and that is because they have relocated that junk above him. You know, now it's on the top of the vehicle mode, and honestly, I think it kind of looks really cool. I think I really like this jet mode. It kind of gives him a Jetfire vibe, right? Like it's a big booster pack strapped to the top of the jet. You know, if I want like some like supersonic version of Blitzwing, this is the one I go for. And again, this is actually where the purple and the beige mix really works to its advantage. So like most of the jet is purple, which is the intention. That's typically how you design a Blitzwing. But because most of that beige is in that upper part, now it really does just look like a big booster pack. It's a really cool use of everything. It's a really cool use of it. Like this just looks good. I really like how this one looks. And again, it helps that this version of Blitzwing went for a more futuristic look rather than trying to be super accurate to either a real world vehicle or his original toy and cartoon depiction. So they get to play around with it a little bit, come up with something new. And I really like this flavor of new. Putting all that bulk in a different spot actually really helps the character design. This works a lot for me. I like this one a lot. Now, if we want more accurate to his original form, then we look at the Titan's Return, and now the kibble has returned to underneath the wings. The tank turret is underneath there as well. If we're going for toy accuracy for any of these designs, this is probably the most accurate to the original toy any of them are. This specific version of the jet mode. The bulk is at least close enough to the inner body that the wings can stick out a good distance, so it does still have the visual of a jet, even though it does look like it's carrying a ton of cargo underneath it. The overall look, though, isn't bad. It does away with almost all the beige, so you just get this nice solid purple jet look. The deco is nice on it. Like the wings designed to look like stickers detail. All this works for me. He looks like a good jet if you stop looking like halfway down his body, if that makes any sense. But no, the jet mode is fine, but yes, it does carry a lot of junk underneath it. At the very least, it's flattened out enough to try and minimize that, but it is still distracting. We will admit this not even equating the part where the turret's still in play underneath him. And then we get to the modern Legacy Blitzwing. Yeah. Well, the jet's all purple. But it's like they took all the junk that the G1 toy had and doubled it up. Like that first block of beige under the wing, that's the size of the junk underneath the original G1 wing. And then there's a whole folded up tank tread underneath that as well. It's just, no. And then I don't like the shorter cockpit either. I don't know, it makes the jet look a lot weaker. The jet already looks like it's struggling. It's not aerodynamic in the least. This thing is not going to make it into the air. It just isn't. This was so upsetting. This was so upsetting. Like, the tank mode is fine, and then you give me this. Like, I had high hopes when they announced this toy, and this kind of dashed them. They just kind of made me know that, yeah, like, this Blitzwing's gonna suffer. It's just gonna just keeps suffering. So yeah, weirdly enough, I think the Generations, the Thrilling 31, I think that one takes it the most. I think that one wins this round. And then we get into the robot modes. Now, again, in that vein of doing something new with character designs, I don't necessarily hate this take on Blitzwing. You're using the treads for legs, so it's typical, like Transformer tank stuff. And that's all well and good, because honestly, as far as, overall shape goes, it's not bad. It's obviously the one that has the smallest backpack. Like, it has the least amount of kibble to distract you. I do feel like the design is way too Seeker. Blitzwing is not a character that's supposed to have his jet cockpit right there on his chest. That is very much a Seeker detail, and it does not feel right here. And when you're adding in vents on the sides, triangular or not, that's still going to push the Seeker thing. And I think that is a mistake on this toy. I wish they would have done something a little bit different with that. Maybe make it rotate so that cockpit goes into his torso rather than just being there. I don't know. So for me, yeah, it's clean, but it's not really the overall look for Blitzwing that I'm looking for. And honestly, it's maybe a little bit too scrawny. Blitzwing should be a heavier, like wide shoulder, bulkier Transformer. And honestly, it's missing that silhouette. Like, yeah, like he's got a bunch of junk behind him, but that silhouette is supposed to just hit the character correctly. I think this one misses the mark. I think it just does. When we get to Titan's Return, we're getting better here. Now, admittedly, the image I grabbed is the render of the US version. If we were looking at an actual photo of the Japanese version, this would be a lot more open and shut. But it's what I could find at the time, and it does get across the important stuff. He is doing pretty well handling his kibble. That's the most important thing with this design to Blitzwing for me. It is a little bit weird in the shoulders because they're a little bit floaty the way they are engineered, but I'm happy to see that, yeah, like he's cleaned up fairly well. He is wide shouldered. He doesn't have the right silhouette because there's no backpack or winglets that would be cartoon accurate. But if you don't need slavish to the cartoon design, then this is fine. This works completely fine. And then his wings, his turret, all that folds up onto the back. So all that's cleaned up really nicely. This is probably like, yeah, it's a nice little middle ground between like what he's supposed to look like and what really makes for a better toy. So play-wise, toy-wise, I think this is hitting the right mark. Maybe not quite hitting the accuracy if that's what you're after. If that's what you're after, the Legacy is absolutely the way to go, especially if you have the Takara one, the brand new one that came out from the Dynamic set. So this is close. He's got the wide shoulders, they've got the right bulk to them. He's got the backpack and winglets that are all in the correct spots and positions. He's got proper feet, but he's still using his tail fins down there too. I like that. This is form-wise a nearly perfect take on Blitzwing, and that's it's cartoon accurate, and that's all. Honestly, like, they know most of us are going to keep these in display on robot mode, so the designers knew which mode had to be really good. Here you go. And he does look good. I do wish he had like a few of the changes that Takara made, but that's available if I really want it. For now, I am still happy with this one. It's on my shelf right now. As far as just robot mode look and honestly like articulation and function wise, this is also the most solid of the three. So yeah, I think the robot mode takes it there. Now, there is an X factor to all of these. And it's because this is the part where I said all of them are weird. So the Thrilling 30 played homage to the animated Blitzwing by having a multiple face gimmick, which was weird. This was really weird. Couple that with the fact that the head was soft plastic, which also felt weird. Didn't help that the cockpit nose was also soft plastic. That also felt weird. And it did not help anything fit together, by the way. We'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, I felt this was completely unnecessary. I would rather them come up with something better for the robot mode rather than this. I feel like that's why the cockpit ended up on the chest too, because like again, I think they're going like more animated Blitzwing in that. Now, obviously, the Titans Return is. I'm sorry about that. Honestly, the Titans Return one is the fact that he's a headmaster. And we have talked about how much I really like the Titans Return gimmick. It offers a lot of added play value. And then Blitzwing is no different, especially because, he does accommodate everybody in all modes. So, yeah, nothing really to say about that one other than, yeah, I still really like the Titans Return gimmick, and Blitzwing wears it well. And then, obviously, we know what Legacy did. Hulk hands. Big, stupid Hulk hands. This is the dumbest accessory I think I've seen a Transformer come with in a long, long time. Yeah, did anyone like these? I'm sure someone did, but man, it just feels really weird. It just feels really weird. So all that said, the goal of this video was to discover which one is the best. Now, that is always going to be a matter of personal preference, and it's going to be determined by your own personal preferences in what you're after. If you want a good functioning Blitzwing, your answer is going to be different than someone who wants a Blitzwing who does things in a different way. What I will say is, objectively, I can't say it's the Thrilling 30. Now, I love the jet mode. I love how the jet mode looks. And I can tolerate the tank because it has an overall good look, even though it is kind of thin in its body. What I cannot handle on that toy is how poorly engineered it is. It not only are the joints not great on that toy in any version I have messed with, it's the way that the shoulders and the chest are all supposed to connect that just does not work. Massive design flaws with this toy that really keep me from enjoying it. That's why I never reviewed it in the first place, because I knew my objectivity as a reviewer is everything. And when this toy of a character I absolutely love has such glaring flaws to it, it's very hard for me to stay objective. So Yeah, that's why I kind of passed on that one. And then I never really got around to the other Blitzwings just because I never got around to them. So then it comes down to the two newest ones, and they have their advantages and disadvantages. I will tell you this: if I want a Blitzwing that looks good on a shelf, then it's going to be the Legacy one. That's the one that's currently in my display. I think mass wise, height wise, just the overall look being more cartoon accurate, having the backpack look screen accurate, all of that is important for a display piece for me. So I have him on display with the rest of my season 3 toys, because I identify him with 5 Faces of Darkness more than I do Triple Takeover. But that said, if I want a Blitzwing to play with, I feel like the Titan's Return has it beat. Not only because the jet mode handles the bulk better and it has the Titan's Return gimmick. Frankly, I think it's more pleasant to transform. I think the Legacy one is just a little bit too annoying for something that ultimately doesn't look all that great, especially if you're going into the jet mode. So for me, if I want to just pick up and mess with a Blitzwing, I will pick up the Legends version from Japan. Like, I have that one still. It's one of the rare times where, like, I didn't sell off the old one once the new one came in. I'm keeping my Blitzwings, thank you very much. And I still really, really like them both. Now, like I said, if it's a display piece, Legacy. If I want a toy, and that's the goal of the video, which was the best Blitzwing toy out of all 3 of the modern ones, I'm going to say it's the Titan's Return. That's the one I have the most fun with as a toy. And that's the opinion of the day. So, thank you very much for putting in that request. I get to talk about Blitzwing, always makes me happy. And let me know in the comments below which is your favorite Blitzwing out of all the modern ones. Even throw in the G1. If you thought the G1 was the best, throw that in. And animated doesn't count. Animated doesn't count because it's a completely different version of the character. So let's keep it to the Generations lines, okay? So that said, thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time. Hello everyone, I am Astral Agent Magnetar, a Tokusatsu VTuber, and I am streaming 4 times a week over on Twitch, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons, and a special late night one on late Friday/early Saturday. So come watch, come hang out, and let's make an impact together.